Live Mike, and I'm your host, Michael Gant. So good to have you with me in the stream tonight. I have a very special guest. We're going to get to her in just a couple of minutes, but I want to thank you for joining with us where we share contemporary Christian conversation. And just one announcement tonight, just one announcement. I want to remind everybody that right now we're on our summer schedule, which is Wednesday night at 8 o'clock. But that is not my time slot. That is my daughter's time slot. But because I was trying to reconsider what our programming is going to look like in the fall, and she's taking some time off because she had knee surgery and she's getting ready for summer camp, and she's the major teacher for the youth program at our summer camp that starts the first week in August. She's studying for that while she recuperates from having her knee replaced. I borrowed her time, but she's going to want it back. And so I just wanted to let everyone know that in mid-August, August 18th, as a matter of fact, Live Mike is going to be moving to Tuesday night, August 18th, and then it'll be every Tuesday night. And we are moving to an earlier time slot. We're moving up to 7 p.m. So write that down in your calendar. Spread the word. August 18th, we move to our fall schedule, which is going to be 7 p.m. on Tuesday night. And I might add, that's going to be the only program that we're going to be doing, at least for the foreseeable future, just the Tuesday night program. I'm finding that my schedules getting to be a little bit too much to adequately run the two programs, our Tuesday morning and Thursday night. So we're going to go to an evening program, move it up a little bit earlier. I've had at least 2 or 3 people in the last few weeks say, I would love to stay and watch your whole program, but I go to work very early and I have to go to bed, so I miss most of the programming. Could you do it a little bit earlier? And interestingly enough, that suits my lifestyle right now pretty good. So we're going to move the schedule up to 7 o'clock. So it'll be from 7 o'clock to 8 on Tuesday night, starting August the 18th. That's all I've got for you tonight in terms of announcements. I want to introduce my only guest tonight. Her name is Jean Marie Davis. She is the executive director of Branches Family Resource Center here in Brattleboro. And she really is right now the tip of the spear in the pro-life movement in America. And God is using her to make some incredible advances in the pro-life movement. And we're blessed to partner with her. I am privileged to serve on the board of directors at Branches, and we've watched God do some amazing things in the last couple of years. Jean, come in and join us. Yeah, well, you're still having some microphone problems there. Still can't hear you. There you go.
There we go. How are you?
I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm going to come over to your new house, and I'm going to set you up with some new equipment so you don't talk like this. I hope you've had a good day, Jean.
Yes, it's been a busy day.
Good. Yeah, well, they're all busy these days, aren't they? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm going to basically break the program up into 2 parts tonight. I want to talk about a very special event that took place a couple of weeks ago out in the Bay Area of California, right? San Francisco area.
SoCal.
Okay. All right. I thought you were
Orange. We were in Orange County.
Orange County. So that's down south.
Yes.
Okay. I was totally mistaken about where you were. I was thinking you were up in the Bay Area somewhere. But what do I know? I've been to California one whole time in my life and couldn't wait to get out.
Oh boy!
No, I'm telling you the truth. I was working an extra job at the time. We had some medical bills we had to pay off, and I had a friend who had a trucking company, and every once in a while he needed somebody to take a load of bottled water from Poland Springs, Maine to Los Angeles and then go all the way up to Modesto.
Well, that's why you wanted to leave California. You went to
the that's right. Place. And all the way up to Modesto to pick up loads of walnuts and bring them back to the Boston produce market. And so that's why I wanted to get out. Dragging one of those 45-foot trailers on the streets of L.A. is not something that I'm excited about.
Nobody's excited.
But you're a California girl, I know.
Yes.
But we're getting you reacclimated to real life here in Vermont and New Hampshire.
I know.
But anyway, so you were a guest on the Lila Rose show.
Yes.
Which I understand is a very, very popular show. I did not, to be honest with you, I'd never heard of her, and I don't know why, but she got quite a program.
So Lila Rose is one of the biggest representative of the pro-life movement in the Catholic world.
Okay.
So she's very predominant. If she says something, because she's the president of Live Action, she says something, it holds a lot of weight. So yes.
Well, I was very impressed, and I understand that she's got a huge following. So Jean Marie Davis was a guest on the Lila Rose show a couple of weeks ago, and apparently that was created quite a stir. How many views is the thing up to now?
Over 74,000 views on YouTube and over 1.2 million views on all of their reels that they have put out.
Wow,
on all the platforms.
That's pretty impressive. I understand that YouTube, when they realized what the topic was, demonetized her program so she couldn't make any money off of it.
Yes, they said that they said to the show that it was taking them forever to get it up and running. It was like 3 days that they had to fight them to let them actually put it out there. So that's why they had to put a demonetize, and they were suppressing it. So
wow, don't want that pro-life message out there, do we?
Right.
But you didn't just talk about the pro-life movement. You talked about a whole raft of things, which are going to come up in the conversation we have in a few minutes. The whole trafficking, sex trafficking, drug abuse, all of that whole lifestyle, which you were a part of. I want everybody to hang on for a minute. I want to show you just a clip of that interview with Lila Rose.
It was me against the world.
You were trafficked for over 20 years. What kept you in this cycle?
It's a Russian roulette. It is a chess game. How do I survive the next day? Okay, well, you live that life when you have a gun pointed to your head, and you have to decide, are you going to sleep with another 15 men, or are you going to find somebody else who's going to do that so you can give your body a rest? Most women are not kidnapped into human trafficking, and that's a reality that people don't understand. I started banging my head against the wall, and they put a gun to my head and says, keep on making the noises, we'll kill you. No man came and rescued me, because when I was at the pregnancy center, I told him I don't trust a man. She said, well, this man, his name is Jesus. I said, he will be the last person I give a try. If he fails, then that's it, I'm done. She says, if you give your life to Jesus, watch him do miraculous things.
Wow, that's pretty amazing, man. That was just the introduction.
Yeah. I saw that too. I said, okay.
Yeah, she clearly has some pretty amazing technical people. Maybe we can get them to work on your technology. So maybe a lot of people, and I know that you have been and are increasingly popular in the public speaking circuit. You get opportunities to be all over the country. You spoke at March for Life. You've been pretty much everywhere, and primarily regarding pro-life. But there's more to it, because you were trafficked from the time you were a young child until you were in your 20s.
Yep.
And literally ended up in New Hampshire running for your life.
Yes.
Yeah.
Of all places.
In New Hampshire, of all places. Well, you know what? God has his own plan.
He sure does.
Remember when he said to Abraham, get up and get out of your country and away from your family, and I'll take you to a land that you know not of? Guess what? That for you, that was New Hampshire.
Right?
Yeah. So tell us, I don't know how many people are in here who know your story, who may not know your story, but tell us just a little bit about Jean Marie Davis and your life and how you ended up here in New Hampshire.
So from 2 to 14, I was groomed by family members in different ways, whether it's drugs or parties or men. From 14 to 18, I was gang raped or um, passed around. And then from 18, I walked into human trafficking because I needed money because my parents had kicked me out and I was homeless.
Uh-huh.
So I needed money. I wasn't kidnapped, and the majority of the women that I trafficked with weren't kidnapped. We needed money, so this was the best way. So from 18 to 29 is when April of 2014 was when my life was running with drugs, trafficking, all different types of stuff, you name it. And then I was told that I needed to leave California because I went home, need to leave California, and they gave me 4 options. And I wasn't choosing Alaska. And Washington didn't want me. The 16 shelters in Maine said, "Why would you want to live in the woods when you're in California?" And then this one shelter in New Hampshire said, "We'll take you." So I went to New Hampshire, and she wasn't even the woman, Teresa, that I met at the airport in Manchester. She wasn't even a Christian.
Huh.
And she told me about the pregnancy center and said, they believe in Jesus. That's what she said. And I
They
was like, I
believe in
don't,
Jesus. Yeah.
yeah. And I was like, I don't care. And it's funny because when I got in the car and I looked at her, and I said to myself, I said, if something happens, I know I could take her. Like, it was just, I was like,
Yeah.
I was 4.5 months pregnant. I was like, I can take her. I sized her up real quick. So I went to the pregnancy center, and then that's when they did the ultrasound. And amazingly, by the grace of God, the woman who is now our nurse is the same woman that did my ultrasound.
Wow.
So that's
amazing. Yeah.
amazing. And she's actually doing her boards on the 21st to become a nurse practitioner. So we're really excited for that. And so they told me about Jesus, this man. And, I still today, like, if anybody introduced Jesus any differently to me, I probably wouldn't accept Jesus. The way that they presented Jesus was a challenge to me. Like, okay, if you give this man a try, like, I challenge you, like something from the streets, like, I challenge you, either you take this and see what happens. To where now I tell women, I said, what's the worst case? Try this man named Jesus out and change, or you stay the same. I mean, it's either way,
There's not a big risk here.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Like,
Right.
either he does something in your life and he changes, or you just stay the same. So
Yeah.
that's when I accepted Jesus. And then ever since then, it was the last week of September of 2014 to now, I have been walking with Jesus.
Yeah.
And taking leaps and having the ministry take leaps with me.
Yeah. Yeah. And as a result of coming to New Hampshire and meeting these people and finding Jesus, you did not abort your child, which you had planned to do.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. He's actually right now in Philadelphia. I think he's in Philly or New York. He's somewhere over there. I know where he's at. He's with good people. No, he's with YWAM. He's with YWAM doing missionary work. And he's really excited because they've won a total of like 300 people to the Lord. And he's won himself. He's won 8 people to the Lord. And him and his friend, they won 5 Catholics to the Lord. So he's really excited and pumped about that. So, but yeah.
Okay, so you're in New Hampshire. You've decided to have the baby. You got an opportunity to go to school.
Yes, North Point Bible College, which is no longer North Point Bible College because it used to be Zion Institution. Now it's North Point Bible of School. I think it's what it's called now.
It's North Point anyway.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And you got out of school and went to work HR in a hospital or something, if I'm remembering right.
So I went and worked in Cheshire's hospital as a patient registration, And then from there, I left them and went to a different hospital, and became the HR assistant. This is all through COVID,
Mhm.
because being a single mom, and at the time they were saying that you had to be a first responder, and I
Mhm.
needed to keep making money. So the Lord allowed me to work in the hospital, and
Uh-huh.
HR, I guess, apparently is a first responder. Important is to keep the company running. So that's where just,
Okay. Well,
so
all
that's
right.
where we were at. And then I remember when I was in the HR department, there was a lot of meetings that I had to sit in with the CDC. And I remember the doctors and the CDC when COVID, they said that we had to take the COVID vaccine. And I said, no, I didn't want to. And then they said verbatim to me, I'll never forget,
Mhm.
you must prove you're God.
Wow.
And I said, not a problem.
Not a problem. Yeah.
Um, so it was very interesting, and that was in New Hampshire. So when I went to
Mhm.
Massachusetts, it was worse in Massachusetts than it
Oh,
was in New
yeah.
Hampshire. They had, I think it was like 8 pages that you had to fill out to get a religious exemption. And I couldn't, they would not have given me the religious exemption had I not shown that I'd already gotten a religious exemption in New Hampshire.
Yeah.
But other than that, I mean, I worked in the HR. I worked doing the subpoenas of the hospital. So every subpoena that, if somebody sues the hospital, I
Yeah.
went through all the subpoenas with the lawyers.
Mhm.
I worked with credentialing doctors. I went to learning how to hire on, get files right, work with the FMLA, OSHA, the CDC, the HIPAA, all the things that we are now currently doing at the center. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So I've often one of my favorite characters, Gene, is from the Bible, is a fellow by the name of Joseph. I love to talk about Joseph as the man who made all the right decisions and got all the wrong rewards. He always made righteous decisions, and then somebody either falsely accused him, sold him into slavery, threw him into prison, all sorts of things, dragged away from his father and his home, ended up in Egypt, exactly where God needed him to be.
Yes.
And
Yes.
and I think of you when I think of you, I think of Joseph, because all you went through, even going back to those years of trafficking,
Yeah.
all those years in the drug culture and the sex trade and all of that thing, because what is, as we kind of segue here, that's exactly the place God has put you in Brattleboro, Vermont, as the executive director of Branch's Family Resource Center, because founded, I believe, yeah, it's 40 years. This is our 40th year as an organization. That's either, biblically, that's either the end of a time of testing or the beginning of a time of testing.
Don't say that.
Yeah, I just thought I'd mention that to you.
No.
So someone said that every person is on their way out of the wilderness. They're in the wilderness, or they're getting ready to go into the wilderness. And
What happened to the promised land? What about getting into the
yeah,
promised
the
land?
promised land comes later. The promised land comes later. But I think it should not. And let me just pause for a second. I want to welcome my friends James Kabuka from Mubende, Uganda, who is in here tonight. I see Pastor James signed in. Pastor James, I've got to get a hold of you soon. I want you to work with me on a project for reaching and doing ministry to pastors in East Africa, and I want you to be a part of that. My daughter Robin is in here, and then there's a whole bunch of other people who are hiding in the shadows. I can see your numbers, but not your names. Please greet us. Drop a name in the chat room, and also let me mention, if you have a question for Gene, you can put it in the chat, and I will display it like this, so everybody can see it, and then Gene can answer it, okay? Yo, my pop and my sister, we know who that is. That's Miss Robbins. So anyway, my point is this, that with the changes that have taken place in this ministry, which started out 40 years ago as a pregnancy center, rescuing babies from abortion, called Lifeway, Choosing Life, And now in 40 years, we literally are not a pregnancy center anymore, pregnancy resource center anymore. We're a family resource center, and we're called Branches Family Resource Center. And we're not just dealing with the issue. Hello, Kelly from up in West Lebanon. We're not just dealing with pregnancies. We're dealing with women who are trafficked and often forced into abortions. We're dealing with women who are escaping spousal abuse, domestic abuse, men who are finding themselves now a father and have no idea what to do. What's the thinking behind that, Gene? Help me out here, because this is a major shift in my mind. This is a major shift in the pro-life movement, which for 40 some odd years has been almost solely focused on the issue of abortion.
Right. So I want to make it clear, we're still focused on abortion. Like we still care and worry about the preborn. We still have our focus. So I think, one, there's a lot of people, whether it's our donors, whether it's the churches in this area, who are very confused on this thing. We're still focused on abortion. However, because of the culture and because of the pro-life movement and what has come about in the last 6 years, we've had to pivot, and we've had to figure out ways to where it would attract women to come. Because and it was funny because I knew you were going to ask this question, and I sat up all last night trying to figure out how to answer it without showing my very aggressive and this is what we're supposed to do type of attitude. No, so basically, right, you had COVID that hit in 2020. It shut down the whole country. That includes Planned Parenthood. Right. But yet there were still abortions being done. How is abortion still being done and Planned Parenthood is not operating? So we're just going to pin that question for a second, right? So you have the pro-life movement coming back from the COVID. They're trying to readjust and figure out, like, how do we reacclimate to this new culture that's been now created for us? Then you got pregnancy centers who are shutting down because they cannot manage, because essentially, if you're not medical, you're hitting the roof. I was in Boston, in downtown Boston a couple of weeks ago. They're not medical, and me and the director were talking, and I was like, and she goes, I need to become medical. I need to work with you. Okay, I'll help you. So there's that. And then in 22, in my eyes, as not a director, but I don't know, in my eyes, one of the greatest, worst things could ever happen to the pro-life movement, and that was Roe versus Wade getting turned over. What infuriates me is when I ask pastors, leaders, Christians, how many did you really believe that Roe versus Wade was going to get turned over? I've been in a room of 250, 300, 1,000, and maybe 5 hands go up, and that includes pastors. And I look at them and I go, you pray to a God that you think is not going to answer. Now it's answered, and now we as pregnancy centers are not knowing what to do. Like, we're not ready for that amount of pushback. So you have a lot of directors that are leaving because they just can't handle that amount of pressure. And some of them have been doing it for 20, 30 years. And they're like, yeah, no, I can't do this anymore.
All right, stop. Why did the reversal of Roe v. Wade create all this pressure? That's the part we can't leave out. We need to be clear about that.
Okay, so before Roe versus Wade got turned over, the federal government had the overarching control. So the states would do just enough and irritate the pregnancy centers, which they did for years. And I've heard people who worked in the pro-life movement, oh, I'll go to jail and I'll do this. And okay, great. Yes. Okay. Because there wasn't a whole lot of pressure. The minute Trump made it to where Roe versus Wade was turned over, he said, no more is the federal government going to hold back. We're just going to give it to the states. So now each state dictates how they want to deal with the pro-life movement, with the pregnancy centers. And honestly, we are in the worst, one of the worst part of America, because they want blood. Like, they want us. Like, Antifa in Massachusetts, they've teaching people how to physically attack a pregnancy center director or workers, how to attack their building, how to go after their doctors and their nurses, and trying to strip them of their licenses if they're in Massachusetts. Like, they are viciously going for blood. So when you have that amount of pressure coming, and then to throw in a object to a game, it's no longer about Planned Parenthood. I keep telling all the directors, I don't care what the devil's doing. The devil's going to do what the devil does. That's Planned Parenthood. They're going to do it. That's them. However, let's focus on what we can do. Let us play in defense instead of offense. And that's where the pro-life movement has not known how to do it. They play in offense. Okay, we need to match whatever Planned Parenthood's doing. Okay, they're doing this. We need to do this. No. I don't care what the devil's doing. At the end of the day, now I got to fight a mailbox, because I just had these women write up an op-ed for Branches, and I just read their op-ed and I was blown away. I knew about the man in Texas who got the abortion pill and slipped it in the drink for his girlfriend, and she didn't know. She wanted to have the baby, he didn't, and because of that, he got the abortion pill, slipped it in the drink, and she had an abortion. But I didn't realize that a U.S. Army captain just got dishonorably discharged with 12 years in prison because he got a subordinate pregnant, used her information, and ordered the abortion pill online, and then slipped it into her drink. And then the young woman lost her baby and was rushed to the hospital, to the ER, because of the amount of loss of blood that she lost. So now the new date rape drug, like back in the 80s and the 90s when we had the reface, now it's, oh, let's do the abortion pill. So that's what we're fighting. So Branches, because of the lawsuit, because we were the first pregnancy centers in America to actually take it, because a lot of people don't realize that there were attorneys that were begging pregnancy centers to take a fight to the state, and none of the pregnancy centers were willing to do it until Branches and Aspired Now in Burlington put our names out there. That's when Colorado stepped in. That's when Illinois. That's when you have Amy from New Jersey, who has now won the case in New Jersey, who won the case in the Supreme Court. Like, they were trying to get the donors list in New Jersey. And we're not supposed to give out our donors list. That's private, but the state of New Jersey wants that list. Like, there's so much that they're trying to do. Virginia, they're saying that if you're not taking Medicaid, then you're a fake. Then you must not be a real clinic. You must be fake. So there's all these things that they're pushing that pregnancy centers are not ready for. In the midst of, they're like, I just want to save the baby. I just want to be helpful for the mother. But how do we do that if we're constantly dealing with government? And everybody's like, oh, don't worry about the government. How do you not worry about the government when it's at your doorstep threatening to fine you thousands of dollars? So for us, we took it on as, okay, let's spin this because of my background, because of who I sit and what I do in the seat as a person who used to be a dope dealer and a prostitute and a trafficker and all that stuff and everything in that world. And because I knew, and I made ourselves in Brattleboro very predominant. They don't like us, but they sure do respect us in Brattleboro. And so for that, men were coming, women were coming. It's funny, we don't even need to have an open sign anymore. People just walk in our doors. Like, they already know if we're there. They know when we're there. They just come in. And that's when we decided to make it family. Let's broaden it out. Let's expand to figure out how to get into, still get women to come in who are in that option of, do I want to have an abortion or not? And that's why we changed it to family. So that's a long answer to your long question.
Well, I think what a lot of people don't understand also is that all of these other elements enter into the whole abortion issue.
Right.
I've said many times, and you know that from where I sit, abortion is really the symptom of the problem, and we've not been dealing with the problem.
Right.
You're not,
And
and I think you said it the other day in a conversation we had. You're not going to stop abortion as long as the false god Molech it works through people, that god of death and child sacrifice, and abortion is little no difference.
Right. Yep.
Than child sacrifice. It's the activity of demonic spirits. But abortion is, you've got men who, they know how to have sex, but they don't know how to be a father.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
And many of them would be if they had. We've got lots of activity outside my house tonight. And that's going to be an interesting question, Robin, and I'll get to it in a minute. But the fact that if you can show a man that he can be a father, and that it's the objective shouldn't be just get rid of the problem, that's a baby's life saved.
Right. Well, I said to the Trump administration at the White House when they were talking about the education, I said, wait a minute. I said, y'all skipped a step. And I said, at the end of the day, let's talk about the men and not being in the house. So how do you expect children to be in school? How do you expect to have education? How do you expect to be taught something if these children aren't being taught how to be men? Like you have in the Black community, we have a lot of women who are single mothers that are Black, and there's this saying that, I got to be the father and the mother. No, you can never be a father.
Right.
There's no way you can be a father, because you won't show a man, a boy, how to protect, how to, and I'm talking because I am a single mother. So, there's this whole part of this culture that we need to understand, that we have done a disservice to these young men and to these men that are out here, that you can have sex ed in school without actually showing them what the repercussions is of having that. I had a client that came in, and he's a young gentleman, and he was like, "Yep, I lost my virginity." I said, "So you getting married to her?" And he was like, "No." I said, "Then why did you sleep with her?" "Because I was bored." What?
Yeah.
What?
Well, you see, what has happened is we have removed the sanctity of the family, actually the sanctity of the sexual act.
Yeah.
Which, because we're, as a culture, so perverted now, it's fun. It's a rite of manhood. It's a way to get somebody to say, "I love you." There's all sorts of things, but it has lost the meaning.
Right.
Is lost. I share with people all the time, the first commandment God gave Adam and Eve was to be fruitful and multiply, and to replenish the earth with others of his image. And people get furious when I say, the primary purpose in sexual intercourse is procreation.
Which is
it's
funny,
not
because
pleasure. It's not pleasure. That gets us there.
Right.
It's not the purpose.
But that's where I don't understand when people say, well, it's a reproductive rights. Well, how's it reproductive rights when we already were given the rights when we were born?
Yeah, we don't need that right. We've got that right.
Right. So what are you talking like this?
What they're talking about is the right to escape the consequences of my actions.
Right.
It's like when AIDS was so prevalent, someone, they were desperately looking for a cure for AIDS. I made the mistake of one day saying, well, there is a cure for AIDS. And they said, no, there's not. I said, yeah, there is. One man, one woman, faithful to each other, AIDS will be gone in one generation.
Yeah.
Well, but no, well, okay. So what it is that you want a pill to take so that you can continue in your sin.
Right.
Okay, and we do the
Right.
same thing with that. So our view, and we are, by the way, and I want to kind of lead you to that next station. We are on the cusp of becoming a certified medical clinic.
We are. I just talked to our person who's walking us through
Uh-huh.
becoming Triple HC, and as of August, we will be 8 months away from being a certified, full-fledged medical clinic. Because, as I tell everybody, if you're going to be medical, if you're going to say you're a clinic, then you need to be full-fledged clinic. You cannot tippy toe, oh, I just do ultrasounds,
Mhm.
and then say, no, we don't have to abide to your things because we're nonprofit, which is true.
Mhm.
As a nonprofit, we don't need to be HIPAA compliant. That's true. However, why would you not want to live above standard?
Right.
And why would you not want to hold and do the things that you're supposed to do? I mean, there's just so many things, and that throws me off being a director and coming from me and the other directors, we kind of go back and forth with that whole HIPAA thing.
Yeah, right.
And I'm
Now
like,
listen. Tell our viewers what it means when we say that we are a clinic. What can we do that we couldn't do before?
so come August 1st, what we are able to do is we can do ultrasounds to confirm your pregnancy.
And we do have an ultrasound machine.
We don't just have an ultrasound machine, which is $17,000. We
Yeah.
have an ultrasound room that costs
Yeah.
us, like, thank you to the donors, almost $30,000, because
Right.
we have and it was funny because the chief of police came to our center the other day, and I told him, I said, you understand that our wires in our ultrasound room is hospital grade wiring. Like, it's not, it's for when you go into radiology. It's the
Right,
same type
right.
of wires that they use in that, because we're using an ultrasound. This is
Right.
what I mean. Like, if you're going to be medical, let's
Be
go
medical.
all the way
So
out.
we can do ultrasounds. We have someone who is capable of interpreting those ultrasounds. You have
Yes, we have a radiologist doctor. We have a
Yeah,
radiologist
right.
doctor. We have a
Mhm.
nurse practitioner for family practice, who's our medical director.
Mhm.
And we are able to do, in a couple of months, we'll be able to do STI, STD testing. And
Mhm.
then once our nurse becomes a nurse practitioner, we'll be opened up to do prenatal care, which means that a woman can actually come to our center for her full term and get her prenatal care at the center.
Right. Now, I'm going to put up a question someone has asked, and then I want you to answer it.
Okay. Okay. Oh,
Have you thought about the possible? There's a big move to save the birthing center, but the hospital has announced that they're going to probably be closing the birthing center. How is that going to affect branches?
So first of all, I just have to say this on a side note. It's very interesting how a lot of pro-choice people who are all about abortion is screaming for this thing to stay open. I don't understand.
The irony does not escape us.
Right. It ain't nothing.
Yeah,
But
right.
What's interesting is, for 3 years, I have said, not just to you and other board members and the staff and people who have come into our center who've tried to apply for either working with us or doing volunteer work, but I've said this to many other directors. Are you ready to deliver a baby in a center? And I have gotten from many different directors, laughed at, oh, that never happened. Ha ha. I even text somebody that's in the one of the corporate CEOs of one of the pro-life organizations, and said to them, hey, I might be birthing babies. And they're like, wait, what? Like, what? I was like, yeah. So this is not surprising to me. It actually, as I told you the other day, I'm ready for it. I have positioned and asked my staff, because they get sick and tired of me moving around that. I think if you walk into the center every day, it's something different. Like the
I
It
can't
changed.
even find the toilet anymore. You keep moving stuff around.
I keep moving because it's like the Lord's like, nope, this isn't it. Nope, this isn't it. This isn't it.
Mhm.
And now we're in a position where I'm like, I looked at our staff today and I said, okay, this is it. Like we're ready. We're ready. And I even to the point to where if we were to be in a position where they do shut down. Now, understand this, and this is a great question, Robin. The birthing suite shuts down in Brattleboro. I just want people to understand what that means. That means that you have no place to give birth to a baby. You would either have to drive all the way to West Leb, which is an hour away.
Mhm.
Cheshire, which is 40 minutes away, that is still a strain because they don't have the capacity. And then Greenfield, where we're at now, Bay State Hospital, they're like, no, we don't have the capacity of handling that. So essentially, which I'm very shocked that the state has not stepped in fully to have one of the hospitals up north in, like, say, in South Burlington to buy out this hospital, because I've worked in hospital, I've been in the HR department, so I know they can have another hospital buy them out and
Mhm.
get them out of this slump. So for them not to do this and the state not to press it, it's very intriguing to me. But it would have all it would do would put us in a position where people would have to come to us, whether you
Yeah.
like us or you don't.
So the reality is that if the birthing center at BUHS, that's a high school, isn't it? At BMH, at BMH, if it closes down, there is no birthing center in Windham County.
None. The closest is either you got to go to Bennington, Greenfield,
Or
West
King,
Leb, or
or
Key.
King, yeah.
That's it.
And that's a scary thing. I mean, I know, I've got a granddaughter who's getting ready to have a baby just any day now, and just had one. I know because we're multiplying like rabbits right now.
Yes.
But this hospital's been struggling for a number of years.
Yes.
But this just amplifies the situation that we're trying at Branches to fill, and it is a very real possibility that God would give us the ability to literally have a birthing center so that a woman would have a place to go to have her baby.
Yes. And it wouldn't
And
be.
we're staffing ourselves with that in mind.
Yes. And to make sure people understand, we're not saying that we are being a birthing center where they would stay there and all that. No, it's you give birth, and in the meantime, we're calling 911 because of course, Brattleboro doesn't have Rescue Inc. anymore, which is right down the street from us, to be our.
Let's don't get that conversation going tonight. All right. That's a whole nother conversation.
I know, but because of that, we have to wait. It's almost like 20, 30 minutes for somebody to come. So it's where people know that if they need to come have their babies and stuff, I'm working frantically with that. Between the fact that Virginia right now is pushing this law that they're trying to make pregnancy centers to take Medicaid, and because they said if you don't take Medicaid, then we're fake clinics. So I'm trying to position ourselves just in case that comes our way to where nope, we can, because we're Triple HC. We just choose not to. We have that option. We're setting it up to where what does that look like? I've talked with the chief of police so far, and I'm hopefully in the next couple of weeks talk to the fire department, where I'm trying to set it up to where we're trying to get interns, whether you're in North Point, Liberty University, Moody, Faith, any Christian college that you're at, that you're trying to go into missions, wanting to come. We're trying to set up a whole apartment right now to house people, traveling nurses. We're trying to set it up to where, if this is to go down, because they had it to where they were going to lose the nurses last year, and then they made a deal and kind of silenced them. if this is to go down, we would essentially have just been accredited by the time they have closed their doors. And that will move us into a position where, yes, they can come to us. So
Yeah.
we're, like I said, we are about babies. It's just how we go about it is very different, and it's okay. There's
well,
50 ways to
I
make
think
rice.
I think the important thing is that you have to grow. You have to grow in line with the needs of the culture around us, and we're about meeting needs, and it's not just about preventing abortion. And I think one of the reasons, and I was, I'll admit it, I'll hold my hand up and own it. I've been one of the biggest proponents of saying we have to take abortion out of the regular conversation because it's just a fight. Every time the name abortion, the word abortion comes up, everybody gets their claws and their fangs out. There are families that are tortured and torn apart and splitting up, and people are getting hurt, and women are being abused and trafficked and forced to have an abortion so they can be back out on the streets. You gave that in your testimony. I was going to show a couple more clips, but we don't have time. But there you talked about, I think you said in the opening clip, most women who are trafficked are not kidnapped.
No.
That's kind of the picture that we have. That young girls are dragged off the streets and never heard from again, and we know that goes on. But that's not the majority of women who are being trafficked.
No. Like I met a woman who in St. Louis about a year or so ago when I was out there, and she runs out. She goes, "Hey, I was trafficked too." And I'm like, "Great, let's talk. Let me hear your testimony." And she said, "Listen, I was trafficked because I needed to make money, or I did it because I wanted to make money, but I had no pimp, but I just needed to make money." Okay, she goes, "But my daughter was kidnapped, so she wasn't, but her daughter was."
Yeah, one of the things, and we have those voices in Brattleboro, who for whatever reason wanna say to everybody, "Oh, this is overblown. This stuff is not happening. Not in Brattleboro. It's your imagination." I took a couple of kids who were visiting with me last week. We went down one of the main streets, and you'd know which one I was talking about if you wanted to look for a parking space. And within the block between in one block, there were 3 girls waving down cars.
Right.
In Brattleboro, Vermont.
Right.
And I'm not talking about I'm talking about young women. And they've not been kidnapped.
No.
They're desperate for money. They have an addiction they need to pay for.
Yeah.
They're hungry. They don't have a place to live. They've got and I see interviews all the time with young women who say this is it. This is the way I'm staying alive. You said in the interview with Lila Rose, it's about surviving tomorrow and then surviving today and then surviving tomorrow and then surviving the day after that.
Right.
And that's a real thing. And of course, in the infinite wisdom of the state of Vermont, they are working very hard to legalize that profession in the state of Vermont.
Yes. So they right now it's tabled. It's in a committee and it's tabled because I wrote a letter to all of the committee up there and told them, like, if you do this, this is what's going to happen. And then we got a message back from our senator or region saying, "Oh, we weren't really meaning to do that." Okay, so why
did you talk about it?
Right. So and so for that, one of the senators pulled their name off of the bill. And because they pulled their name off of the bill, from what I understand, is if any senator strickens the name off of a bill that he has introduced, then usually most of the senators do not bring that bill back in. So right now it's tabled. They're trying to finagle and figure out another way to get it. But right now it's tabled. So we just got to keep our eyes open.
Now let me ask you a question. We've got a few minutes. So let me ask you a question. Why is there such a move to legalize a system that enslaves women. And that's exactly what it is. And we want
It
to
is.
legalize it. And
Right.
and so many women are enslaved by that thing and trapped in that thing. And again, we find our government, who's supposed to protect, who are actually opening the door. And that's the part that my brain, I mean, I know the reason, but I mean the bottom line reason, all right, it's just we've become a wicked culture.
Right.
And we call good evil and evil good. But
Well,
what's the thinking in that?
So I've talked to select board members in Brattleboro. I've talked to different people because in Burlington it is legal. In the city Burlington, it is legal to prostitute, but it's because they believe that if it's legal, then they can tax it.
Oh, well, okay, that explains everything.
So
and Brattleboro's got a tax problem, so let's find another thing to tax.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, now that just became even more vile in my eyes.
But that's what it is, because in California they have it's called sex workers, and it's basically so that they could tax them. Okay, do a 1099 or whatever. How can I you ask a girl,
you have to keep good records.
How do you keep good records when you give all your money to your pimp? Like,
yeah.
Okay, but it's really for like the strip clubs, those type of places, and so it's to legalize it because they're trying to Vegas is legalized, but it's regulated, right? So they're trying to do it the same.
Well, and we know that our current governmental climate is regulation. Let's regulate everything.
Yes.
Yeah. So now we can say it's okay because the government is regulating the captivity of women. Isn't that wonderful of us?
Yes.
Yeah. Yep. That's an amazing thing. So Branches Family Resource Center, we have gone through several years of like metamorphosis from one thing to the next, but I want people to understand, and you're right. We've had donors, we've had people who just don't get it. They think we're abandoning the whole baby, saving babies. We're not. We're just looking at a bigger picture.
Right. Actually, and I said this at the March for Life dinner when I spoke there. I said there's a whole world of women that you're not even touching. Yeah. Right. And then last year, the new president of March for Life said, we're going to stop abortions. Okay, well, until you get into the Black community, you ain't stopping nothing. Yeah. The Black community right now as a nation, which it was staggering when I found this information out and looked at it. The Black community is only 18% of the population of America. There's 50 states. Out of 50 states, there's 5 million people in LA. There's 3 million in San Diego. Like there's a million people in New Hampshire, and you're telling me that Black people is 18%. And so if they keep on having abortions, we ain't going to exist no more.
And you know what I'm blessed by? I'm watching it very carefully. I am very, very blessed by the number of Black pastors.
Yes.
Who are stepping up and saying, let's stop being stupid. They're using us like cattle. We're just a voting block, and that's all we are. Yes. And that goes back to Lyndon Johnson.
Yes.
And I won't repeat what he said, but he got it. He got it done.
Yep.
And though the Black community is only 18% of the population, they're about 75% of the abortion.
Yes. Yeah.
And let's not forget that the person who started Planned Parenthood wanted to control the Black population.
Yes.
He was a racist of the ultimate level.
Yes. And it's interesting because I was sitting on a prayer call with these Black women, and I really didn't want to do it because I was like so exhausted, and I was like, Lord, I really don't want to do this prayer meeting. But he said, do it. And I did the prayer meeting, and it was all Black women, and a lot of them were pro-choice because most Black women in the church is pro-choice. And I said to them, these women are being forced. They're like, wait a minute, they're not choosing to go to Planned Parenthood? I said, no, not all of them. I said, the ones that I know that I dealt with, they're forced to have an abortion.
Mhm.
And they're like, oh, and then now they don't even have to go into Planned Parenthood. They just take this,
They
this
just go to the
drug.
drugstore.
Right. You get, either Plan Bs, which is sold at Walmart right there on the aisles, or you go and you order it online, because in Vermont, you don't even need to see a doctor. They have it in the law where you just order it online and it's done and over with.
Right.
And so the for some reason, even in the pro-choice world, when I deal with them, the minute I say forced abortion, everybody's like, no, we don't believe in that. We don't want,
And they don't,
right.
because
But
that
yeah,
kind of kills the pro-choice thing, doesn't
right.
it? That's right.
And,
Yeah.
and so I've told them, because I've talked to many pro-choice people, and I've said to them, okay, explain to me, convince me why I should be pro-choice. Convince me why I should believe in this, taking our hands off of the abortion pill and letting that just have its way. It convinced me, and they can never convince me. But then I can tell them, listen, okay, so you're telling me that it's okay to do this, but this is what's going to happen to our bodies, right? And a lot of people get mad when I don't condemn them, because they've had, which I think a lot of the pro-life movement, there's a lot of things in the pro-life movement has to change. One of the things is, the minute we hear that a woman has had an abortion, we can't automatically go delving in, okay, well, this is wrong, this, and this.
Mhm.
It's like, because I watched that happen at an event I was at. These people just like became vultures and was telling this woman, who she came out and just said, yeah, I had an abortion, can you help me?
Mhm.
They didn't say, I'm sorry. They didn't say, forgive me, anything of condolences, meeting her where she's at, just like Jesus, who
Mhm.
meets us where we're at, and then walks that through. They just automatically just started delving in, and I had to cut in, and I was like, no, I'm sorry. And then she just broke
Mhm.
down and cried. Like,
I'll tell you something that you don't know. Several years ago, maybe it's many years ago now, I was active in the Right to Life movement in Vermont, and I pulled out because there was so much condemnation, there was so much judgment, there was so much, cruelty,
yeah,
absolute verbal cruelty.
right.
And I said to myself, this is not Jesus' way.
No,
I will not be a part of it. And the reality is that most women who have gone, we know that all women who go through an abortion have post abortion trauma.
yep,
That it's like the whole transgender thing now, where they say to kids, hey, we're gonna take off your breast and make you a fake male organ and give you some medicine that's going to make your life better. And it ruins them, it destroys them. And and I thank God for it, a lot of the young people who have gone through, or at least started through the transition thing, and realized, this is not making me happy, this is making me worse,
yes.
are coming out and saying, this is cruelty, this is a crime.
Because they're trying to, because of the COVID, and this is something that a lot of people don't know, because the conversation was changing every time. So I heard it from the top, and then it would change when it get to the doctors and the nurses, and then it changed to the general population of the hospital, and then it changed when it got to the public. But essentially, what was happening and what's been happening is how to get rid of having babies. So the transgender and the transitioning and all that stuff is just so that there would not be able to be populate to have more kids.
It's population control.
That's what it is.
Yeah. And let me just remind our listeners, and we've got to go soon, Jean, and thank you so much for being on tonight. This all goes back to that rebellion against the word of God, which said, be fruitful and multiply.
Right.
Yep. I'm a pastor. I'm going to put it in a theological perspective. This is just one more active rebellion against God.
Yes.
And it's bottom line, that's what it is.
Yes.
And so we're not only fighting to save babies, we're fighting to fulfill the commandment of God, to recommend that. And you've got very high placed people whose goal is to reduce the population. And every once in a while, one of them says the quiet part out loud, and then they get slapped down. Did you actually say that where people can hear it? But
Right.
it is. And there are countries that are after people like Bill Gates and others when they realize that their whole goal is to reduce population.
Yes. Yep.
Yep.
So, but for
And-
us, before we run away, we do
Uh-huh.
have a new center
Uh-huh.
in Greenfields.
Yeah.
So through all of the, and I told somebody who came to the center, and I said to them, I said, thank you so much for not just listening to the gossip, but actually coming to the horse's mouth
Right.
to find
right,
out what's going on.
Right.
So I explained to them that essentially Branches has not changed other than we added
Yeah.
to what we're doing. People had problems when there was and I found this out from many directors. A lot of the pro-life donors, churches had a problem because they had added a fatherhood program for the men, and they thought that they were steering away from the pro-life movement, and then of the focusing on abortion, and now everybody's accepting the fatherhood program, and everybody's like, yeah. And I had somebody come into the center and ask me questions, and then they were like, oh, so I said, we've only added two things. That was the medical and the human trafficking. That's it. We do everything the same. We're not just a pregnancy center. We are a pro-life. And honestly, I'm just going to say, I really don't care what people think about us changing our names to family. In actuality, in Massachusetts, it's actually protecting us to be a family resource center and not a PRC right now because of what's going on. So I put it on a post. I'm not going to get approval from people right now. Instead of what God has to say is a very dangerous place for us in what we're doing. I mean, I've gotten phone calls, and you've seen some of the messages where people are like, hey, can you put a center in Pennsylvania? Can you put one in? I've had one ask, can we put one in Alaska? I've had somebody just ask. I was like,
you didn't want to go to Alaska. What's up with that?
Right. We had our first out of the country person from the UK who's wanting to donate, and she's like, can you bring Branches out here into UK? I said, please wait. I've had people ask us to go to DC. At the end of the day, regardless of what everybody is saying, God must be moving and blessing us because he's allowing these doors to open for us to take on these things. And yes, we do, so to have two centers and potentially have three and coming up pretty soon, hopefully, and look into, I just wanted to have 5 centers, Pastor. I just told you all in October 5, which was supposed to go south,
not northwest, huh?
Right. But it's really interesting. I told this, and I know we got to go, but I want to say how God really moves. When I was flying back from California, I was on the plane, and my heart is to get in our next center to get into is Connecticut, actually in New Haven. That's where I would like to be because it hits right there on the corridors of 95 and 91. And what would you know? Ironically, one of the stewardess, she says, what did you do? And I told her what I did. And she goes, oh, I'm a nurse in New Haven, Connecticut. And I do labor and delivery. I said, but you fly. She goes, oh yeah, it's per diem. She's like, but it would be great if you had a center in New Haven. I said, oh, I'll take that back to my board. So I just wanted to throw that out to you, boss. That
no, not now. Wait, despite how fast it seems like it's going, I think the Lord is measuring our steps as we go.
Yes, he is.
And our goal is to make sure babies come into the earth and fulfill the destiny for which they were knit together in their mother's womb, that families would be knit back together, that men would become fathers and husbands as God has called them to be, that women would understand that being a mother and a homemaker and a caregiver is not a demeaning thing. It is the highest calling in the world.
Yes.
And we're about all of that now. And in the end, that's going to save a lot of babies' lives.
Yes. Yeah.
Amen.
Yep. That's all that matters.
Gene, thank you very, very much. We are over our time, but it's my dime. I'm paying for it, so I don't really care. But I'm old and I need to go to bed.
Thanks,
Thank you for being with us. Those of you who've been in here tonight, I see Robin, I see Kelly, I see, oh my goodness, I see Alberta, I see Laura Green, I see Faith Brigatti, James Kabuka. Oh man, a whole bunch of people in there. Thank you for joining us. Catch me next Wednesday night at 8 o'clock. God bless. Bye-bye.